I thought I knew my wife. 3 years of marriage, a house in the suburbs of Portland, 2 cats, and what I believed was a solid foundation. But standing on my own lawn that Friday night in June, rain dripping down my face, hands cuffed behind my back, while police lights painted everything red and blue, I realized I had been wrong about everything. Amanda stood in our doorway, phone raised, recording my humiliation. And she was laughing. Before we dive into how a single phone call destroyed everything I thought I knew about trust, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. And if you have ever dealt with someone who took things way too far, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story gets intense. Amanda and I met 4 years ago at a small coffee shop in downtown Portland. I was a software engineer working long hours at a tech startup, and she was a graphic designer with an infectious energy that drew me in immediately. She had this way of lighting up a room, making even mundane moments feel exciting. We got married after a year of dating, bought a modest 3-bedroom house in Beaverton, and settled into what I thought was a happy life together. But there was always something about Amanda that should have been a warning sign. She loved pranks. Not the harmless kind that make everyone laugh, but the kind that left me feeling uneasy, embarrassed, or genuinely scared. The first time it happened, we had been married for about 6 months. I was at work when I got a frantic call from her. She was crying, saying she had been in a car accident and was hurt. My heart stopped. I left a meeting mid-sentence, jumped in my car, and drove 20 miles over the speed limit to get home. When I burst through the door, sweating and terrified, she jumped out from behind the couch, yelling surprise. There was no accident. She thought my panic was hilarious. I should have been angrier than I was. Instead, I just felt relieved she was okay and told myself it was a one-time thing. It was not. 6 months later, she called me at work crying again, this time saying she was pregnant. My mind raced through 1,000 emotions in seconds. We had not been trying, but I was ready to be supportive. I rushed home with flowers and baby name books I grabbed from a bookstore. When I walked in, she was sitting on the couch eating chips, completely calm. "Just kidding," she said between laughs. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. That night we had our first real fight. She apologized, but also told me I needed to lighten up. "It is just a joke, babe. Do not be so uptight." The worst one before that Friday night happened about a year ago. I woke up one Tuesday morning feeling fine, got dressed for work, and was about to leave when my phone rang. It was my boss, Daniel. He sounded concerned, asking if I was okay and if I needed to take more time off. I was confused. Time off for what apparently Amanda had called him the day before, telling him I had come down with severe food poisoning and would not be able to work for at least a week. I had no idea she had done this. I was perfectly healthy and had worked a full day Monday. I had to explain to my boss that my wife had lied, which was humiliating. Daniel was understanding but clearly weirded out. When I confronted Amanda, she shrugged it off. "I thought you could use a break," she said. "You work too hard." I told her that was not her decision to make, that she had made me look unreliable at my job. She rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting. My best friend Marcus, who is a corporate lawyer, had warned me multiple times. "Dude, that is not normal behavior," he said after I told him about the fake pregnancy call. "That is manipulation, not humor." I defended her, saying she just had a different sense of humor, that she did not mean any harm. But deep down, I knew he was right. I just did not want to admit that the woman I loved did not respect me. That Friday in June started like any other day. I had been working on a particularly stressful project at work, pulling extra hours all week. By the time Friday afternoon rolled around, I was exhausted. All I wanted was to go home, order takeout, and collapse on the couch. The weather matched my mood. Dark clouds rolled in, and a light rain started falling as I drove home. When I walked through the door around 6 in the evening, Amanda was in the living room, unusually animated. She kept glancing at her phone, typing quickly, then looking up at me with this strange smile. "Everything okay?" I asked, setting my laptop bag down. "Perfect," she said, her voice almost too cheerful. "How was your day long?" "I am beat." She nodded, barely listening, her attention back on her phone. I went to the kitchen to grab a drink, and when I came back, she was staring out the window at our front lawn. The grass had gotten a bit long. We usually mowed on Saturdays, but it had been raining a lot lately, so we had put it off. "You know what?" she said suddenly. "You should mow the lawn tonight." I looked at her like she was crazy. "It is raining, and almost dark. It is just a drizzle." "Come on, it will only take like 20 minutes. I can do it tomorrow when it is not wet outside." Her expression shifted, that familiar pout appearing. "You never do anything I ask. That is not true, and you know it. I just do not see the point in mowing wet grass in the dark." We went back and forth for a few minutes. Looking back now, I realized she was setting something up, but at the time, I just thought she was being unreasonably pushy. Eventually, to avoid an argument, I sighed and said fine. I changed into old jeans and a t-shirt, grabbed our push mower from the garage, and headed out front. The rain had lightened to a mist, but everything was damp and uncomfortable. Street lights were starting to flicker on, and a few neighbors were visible through their windows, finishing dinner or watching TV. I had been mowing for maybe 10 minutes when I heard the sirens. At first, I thought they were just passing by, heading to some emergency a few blocks away. But then I saw the lights. 2 police cruisers came around the corner, fast tires splashing through puddles, and pulled right up in front of my house. My heart jumped into my throat. 4 officers got out, and I could see their hands resting on their holsters. One of them pointed at me and shouted, "Get on the ground." Now I froze. My brain could not process what was happening. Me? What did I do? "On the ground," the officer repeated louder this time. Hands behind your head, I dropped to my knees on the wet grass, confusion and fear flooding through me. 2 officers rushed over, one grabbing my wrists and yanking them behind my back. The cold metal of handcuffs clicked around my wrists. My face was pressed into the damp lawn, the smell of cut grass and mud filling my nose. I could feel water soaking through my clothes. "What is going on?" I managed to say, my voice shaking. What did I do? "We got a call about domestic violence," one officer said, his knee pressing into my back. "Your wife said you attacked her." "What? That is insane. I did not do anything. I have been out here mowing the lawn. That is what they all say," the officer muttered. My mind was spinning. Attacked her? Amanda. None of this made sense. I turned my head as much as I could and looked toward the house. That is when I saw her. Amanda was standing in the front window phone, held up clearly recording. And she was laughing. Not a nervous laugh, not an uncomfortable giggle. A full-body, shaking laugh. Her face was red, and she had one hand on the window frame to steady herself. I felt like the world had tilted. This was another prank. She had called the police on me as a joke. "Officers," she yelled, finally stepping out onto the porch. Her voice was bright, almost giddy. "I am so sorry. This is just a prank. I called you guys as a joke." The officer who had cuffed me stood up slowly. I could feel his anger radiating. "Ma'am, this is not a joke. Do you understand that filing a false police report is a crime?" Amanda waved her hand dismissively, still smiling. "Oh, come on. Lighten up. It is just for fun." "Look at him. He is fine." I was not fine. I was humiliated, terrified, and furious all at once. By now, neighbors had come out onto their porches. Mrs. Chen from next door had her phone out recording. The Martins across the street were standing in their doorway, mouths open. I could see the judgment, the shock, the pity in their eyes. Even if they knew this was a prank, the damage was done. Everyone on this block had just watched me get handcuffed on my own lawn like a criminal. One of the officers uncuffed me, and I stood up slowly, my hands shaking. Another officer, a woman with short gray hair, stepped closer to Amanda. "Ma'am, what you did tonight is serious. You wasted police resources. You could be charged with filing a false report. Do you understand that Amanda finally stopped smiling, but she still did not seem to grasp the severity? I did not think it was that big of a deal. Not a big deal, the officer repeated, her voice sharp. We just pulled 4 officers away from real emergencies because you wanted to pull a prank on your husband. That is a big deal. I just stood there, soaked, humiliated, staring at the woman I had married. She glanced at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker in her eyes. Maybe guilt, maybe recognition that she had gone too far. But then she looked away and shrugged at the officer. Okay, I get it. I am sorry. The officers talked among themselves for a moment, then one of them approached me. Sir, I strongly suggest you document what happened here tonight. What she did is illegal, and you have every right to file a complaint if you want to. I nodded, unable to speak. My throat felt tight. After a few more warnings to Amanda, the officers got back in their cars and left. The street slowly returned to quiet, but I could still feel eyes on me. Amanda walked over, trying to smile again. Babe, do not be mad. It was just a prank. You have got to admit, your face was priceless. I did not say a word. I walked past her, grabbed my car keys from inside, and left. I drove straight to Marcus's apartment 15 miles away. When he opened the door and saw my face, he did not even ask questions. He just let me in. I did not sleep that night. I sat on Marcus's couch, replaying everything over and over. Marcus stayed up with me listening as I told him the whole story. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Joshua, you know I am your friend, and I am going to be straight with you. What she did tonight is not just a bad joke. It is abuse, emotional abuse, and it is illegal. You need to press charges. I do not know if I can do that, I said. She is my wife. She is someone who humiliated you in front of your entire neighborhood and thought it was funny. Someone who has been disrespecting you for years with these pranks. When does it stop? He was right. I thought about the fake car accident, the fake pregnancy, the call to my boss. This was not a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. And tonight, she had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. I had been handcuffed, treated like a criminal, recorded, and laughed at. All for her entertainment. I am going to the police station tomorrow morning, I said finally. And then I am filing for divorce. Marcus nodded. I will help you with whatever you need. The next morning, Saturday, I woke up at 6. I barely felt like I had slept at all, but I was clear-headed. I drove to the police station and asked to speak with the same officers from the night before. One of them, Officer Reynolds, remembered me immediately. I filed a formal complaint against Amanda for making a false police report. I also provided footage from our home security camera, which had captured the entire scene, including Amanda laughing and recording from the window. Officer Reynolds took the report seriously and told me they would open an investigation. Depending on the findings, Amanda could face criminal charges. After leaving the station, I drove to a law office I had looked up online. I specifically did not go to Marcus because of conflict of interest issues, even though he offered to help. The lawyer I met with was named Ms. Catherine Brennan. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, and had 20 years of experience handling divorce cases. I told her everything, not just about the prank, but about the years of disrespect disguised as humor. She listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me. Mr. Joshua, what your wife did demonstrates a profound lack of respect and could even be classified as a form of emotional abuse. You have very strong grounds for divorce. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, so we do not need to prove wrongdoing, but this behavior will absolutely support your case if there are any disputes over assets or other matters. I want to move forward, I said. Today, if possible. We can start the paperwork right now. I spent the next 2 hours signing documents, answering questions, and going over the process. By noon, the divorce papers were ready to be served. Ms. Brennan arranged for a process server, but I told her I wanted to do it myself. I wanted Amanda to see my face when I handed them to her. I drove back to the house that afternoon. My hands were steady as I walked up to the door, carrying 2 sets of documents. One was the divorce petition. The other was a copy of the police report I had filed that morning. When I walked inside, Amanda was sitting on the couch watching some reality show, a bowl of popcorn in her lap. She looked up and smiled like nothing had happened. "Hey, babe, you're back." Still mad about last night, I did not answer. I walked over and set both stacks of papers on the coffee table in front of her. She glanced at them, confused. "What is this, divorce papers?" "And a copy of the police report I filed against you this morning." Her smile faltered. "What are you talking about? I filed a formal complaint with the police. You could be facing criminal charges for making a false report, and I am divorcing you." She stared at me, then laughed nervously. "Okay, very funny. You are trying to prank me back. I get it. I am not joking, Amanda. I am completely serious." Her face went pale. "Wait, you actually went to the police?" "Yes. And you are actually filing for divorce?" "Yes." She stood up, the popcorn bowl tumbling to the floor. "Joshua, come on." "I am sorry about last night, okay. I did not think you would get this upset." "That is the problem. I said, my voice calm but firm. You never think. You never consider how your actions affect me. Last night I was handcuffed on our lawn while you laughed and recorded it. Our neighbors saw me treated like a criminal. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? I said, I am sorry. You always say that. But then you do it again. The fake accident, the fake pregnancy, calling my boss. It never stops. You do not respect me, Amanda, and I am done." She started crying, reaching for my arm. "Babe, please, I will change. I promise. No more pranks ever. Just please do not do this." I pulled my arm away. "I have already made up my mind. You have 72 hours to get a lawyer and respond to those papers. I am moving out today." I went upstairs and packed 2 suitcases with clothes and essentials. Amanda followed me, begging, crying, promising she would be different. But I did not listen. I had spent 3 years making excuses for her, telling myself she did not mean any harm. But the truth was, she did not care how I felt, and I deserved better than that. By the time I left that house, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal proceedings and emotional processing. 2 weeks after I filed the complaint, Amanda was formally charged with making a false police report, a misdemeanor in Oregon. She was required to appear in court, where she pleaded guilty. The judge sentenced her to a $500 fine and 60 hours of community service. It would also remain on her record. I did not attend the hearing, but Marcus did and filled me in afterward. The divorce process took 3 months. Amanda tried multiple times to reach out, sending long text messages, apologizing, begging me to reconsider. She even showed up at my new apartment once, but I did not let her in. My lawyer advised me to keep all communication through legal channels, so that is what I did. Since we did not have children and had only been married 3 years, the process was relatively straightforward. We sold the house, split the proceeds and other assets down the middle, and I did not have to pay alimony. By late September, the divorce was finalized. I was officially free. Those first few months after leaving were not easy. I felt lonely, unmoored. I had built a life with Amanda, and even though it was not a healthy one, it was familiar. But Marcus was there for me every step of the way. He invited me to social events, introduced me to new people, and made sure I was not isolating myself. I started going to the gym regularly, which helped clear my head. I also joined a hiking group, something I had always wanted to do but never had time for when I was married. The Pacific Northwest has incredible trails, and spending time outdoors surrounded by trees and mountains became therapeutic. Through the hiking group, I met people who were genuine, kind, and respectful, people who understood boundaries. One of them, a guy named Trevor, became a good friend. He had gone through his own difficult divorce a few years earlier and gave me advice that really stuck with me. "You cannot make someone respect you," he said, "but you can choose not to tolerate disrespect. Walking away is not giving up. It is choosing yourself." At work, things improved too. Without the constant stress of wondering what Amanda would do next, I was able to focus better. My boss noticed and promoted me to senior engineer with a significant raise. I moved into a better apartment with a view of Mount Hood. Slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt my life into something I was proud of. About 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Amanda at a grocery store. It was awkward but brief. She looked different, tired maybe, and she did not try to approach me. We made eye contact, she gave a small nod, and that was it. I did not feel anger or sadness. I just felt nothing, and that is when I knew I had truly moved on. Looking back now, I do not regret pressing charges or filing for divorce. That night on my lawn, handcuffed and humiliated, while she laughed, taught me something crucial. I deserved better. Respect is not optional in a relationship. It is the foundation, and a joke is only funny when both people are laughing. If one person is hurt, embarrassed, or suffering, it is not a prank. It is cruelty. I wasted 3 years trying to convince myself that Amanda's behavior was just her sense of humor, that I was being too sensitive. But I was not. I was being disrespected, and I finally had the courage to walk away. Sometimes the hardest step toward happiness is leaving behind someone who treats your pain like entertainment. I am happier now than I have been in years. I have friends who respect me, a career I am proud of, and most importantly, I have my self-respect back. And that is worth more than any marriage that was built on humiliation. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a relationship where you felt disrespected but stayed anyway? What made you finally decide enough was enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I would love to hear your stories. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find the courage to choose yourself when you need to. Take care and remember, you deserve respect. Always,